ultimately, we would like to come to a 6-0. We would like to all agree. We want a full consensus. I think, do we all agree that we want to all agree?
Yes.
Okay. So in order to do that, I think we need to talk about it, and we might be here a while. I don't know. I really want us to all talk about it and figure out where everyone is. I know, I think some of us are probably undecided, and some of us have some clear favorites. So if one of us has, a clear vision, raise your hand and let's start there with someone who has a clear vision and tell us who that person is and why. And I'm just going to apologize right off the bat. This is really difficult for us to do because I think all of us do really think there are great things about both of you. So who wants to go first? I'm just going to, Kevin. All right.
So first I have to say this is, for me, and I'm guessing for most of us, as close to a coin flip as possible, and we can't flip a coin. That's not, we certainly can't do that. So one of the main filters for me, as I mentioned, after the first round, when it came up, what are we looking for? One of my big things was examples of bringing people together, the ability to bring people together, and both candidates are excellent at that. So I am going to concentrate on that filter, which will leave a lot of filters open. So I'm just gonna narrow on that one thing. And again, and that's what makes this hard is both of these candidates have shown the ability to do that, have shown excellent strategies for ways to do that. And I'm not exactly sure what it is. If it's tipping me, I'll say it's at most it would be probably 50.5 to 49.5, and there's nothing scientific about that at all. I would go in basically a coin flip. I think I would tip slightly to Scott Muska.
Why?
Well, part of it is some of the experience that he's had, and one that I happen to know about that did not come out tonight. So I don't know if it's proper to talk about it or not.
Maybe. I don't know what it is.
I think you are aware of it though, because I think we've talked about it before. It was something that Scott was called to do in the city of Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think that was mentioned in his application packet.
It was. Yeah. Okay. All right. And for me, that resonated big time, and it spoke. And not to keep anybody in the dark, it spoke to race relations in the city of Milwaukee when they were under a crisis a couple of years ago. So that's something that really resonated with me, and I feel like being on the spot like this, Mark. I don't want you to think that this is downplaying anything that you have done, because I'm obviously what has come out tonight, it's fabulous, what both of you have done. So I think that's what tips it ever so slightly for me.
Okay.
Can
Michelle?
can I ask for you to expound on that with Milwaukee, because I think I missed it and I am not seeing it in here on a quick review.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see it in the.
It could have
in the
been found on
packet
a quick
information
Google
either.
search of Scott, maybe. That's where I found it.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, I didn't see it in the board packet stuff. And Scott, if I'm mistaken about this, please make corrections. The police department in the city of Milwaukee, I believe the story was misidentified one of the Milwaukee Bucks basketball players, and who happened to be African American, and very tall. In their misidentification, the treatment of that individual was very bad, and it created a big problem for the city and race relations at that time. I'm not exactly sure how it came to Scott, but I know that Scott was asked to moderate between the two sides, and that's what it is that I'm talking about. Does that help? Yes. Okay. All right. Yeah. And that's what I was getting at. I didn't know what should be talked about. Scott, is any of that incorrect? Okay. All right.
Yeah, unfortunately, our time didn't allow for all of the very diverse backgrounds of everyone to come through. But yeah, thanks for bringing that up for sure. Mike, did you have something you wanted to mention?
I am, trying to gather my thoughts.
Okay.
And they're kind of
Barb.
scattered.
Oh.
But I think, just so in general, I want to say to everybody that came tonight, all 8 of you, thank you for being here, and thank you for putting yourself out there. I really was impressed by your qualifications, and we narrowed it down to 2, but she made us do it. It was a difficult thing to do even then. The fact that I think 4 of you came out of Rochester schools is pretty astounding to me. It says a lot for the district, and it makes me very proud. And I hope that you'll take the passion that you have for applying for this job and apply it to helping the district in other ways. Having said that, I'll tell you the things that I saw with the 2 finalists. First of all, they're both very articulate. The note I put down was "can talk forever." I think probably true for both. You're clearly both very passionate, which we appreciate. As far as diversity, you're both persons of color, so you also, very important to me is didn't show me any kind of a personal agenda. So again, all the things that particularly I was looking for, I think I saw that the difference I see is Mark has this very long history with the district, and Scott is just jumping in. On the other hand, I think that Scott brings a very diverse set of experiences, both professional and life experiences, that I think are very unique. And so that's that.
So Mike, I don't want to put you on the spot, but so Kevin has voiced his support for Scott. Are you undecided? I'm trying to figure out if we're at a consensus or, I mean, let's let Barb talk.
So, truly, if you could merge the two of you, you would have. Yes, yes, we'd like to merge you both. But some things that that I was looking for in a candidate to fill Dr. Fiaschetti's seat, which is going to be, the adage, big shoes to fill. She was a very positive force on this board. And in looking for the next person to fill that seat, really, I really feel like we need more diversity on the board. Our board needs to reflect more of our community. That really was my number one thing I was looking at. But also, too, I wanted to see a connection to community. And to Mike's point, there are traits in both of you that you see that. In your case, Mark, it's ties to this community that are lifelong. And in your case, Scott, it's ties to other communities that are just as impacted by your involvement. So that's important as well. I also saw in both of what you presented someone who advocates. And if anybody knows me, I would say that I came to this board table because I was passionate about advocacy for public education and children in public education. So to see two candidates like you both that are really focused on advocating for kids, it can't be any more of a bonus, in my opinion. And then in terms of your life experience, you both come from very diverse backgrounds than anyone sitting here at this table. Mark, you are the child of an immigrant parents. I mean, I don't know how you could get any more diversity on this table. And Scott, you have a life experience that I don't think anyone wishes on a child, and you had it. You grew up without a father. So that to me speaks volumes too, because that provides a completely different perspective sitting in the seat. But really, at the end of the day, when it boils down to, well, what's the difference? I look at the skill set in terms of professional background. And I think the one thing that leans me towards Mark is his background in IT. And I really think that our district, with our bond improvements that we've made, with the personnel that we have on staff, and the strides that we've made to upgrade our technology and try and be innovative in that area, I think as far as what somebody could bring to this table and what we may be lacking is a perspective in that arena. But really, that's really the only real difference that I could see, because if I could merge you both into one person, I would.
Yeah. Well, you have to be last this time, Michelle. So yes, mirroring what others have said, this is a really tough decision, and it's not one that any of us is taking lightly, obviously. But also, just so you all know, and our thousands of viewers at home, when we come to a board table and you hear the gavel click and we make votes and it's 7-0 usually, this is why we really do dialogue with each other a lot and make sure that we, as Barb said, this is a board that wants to make sure views are heard. And so we do that. We take the time to do that so that if an unanimous vote is possible, we can have that, because we want to make sure that we're all on the same page for our students. So just to say that ahead of time, that this is really hard. Whether or not we get to that vote, it's our goal. So both of you, obviously strong candidates. Honestly, all of the candidates were really strong candidates. If we could have two boards, that would be genius. Having been where you guys are not long ago and feeling the same way, that you know, when I sat there were 7 other people that night who were also really strong candidates. Some of the things that we looked at then and that I'm looking at now, you know, that community connection, but more than that, the commitment to the community, the commitment to the job itself. This job is different than advocacy. This job is different than committee work. It's different than volunteering. It's different than, you know, coaching. It really is high level, like the bolts of a huge organization. And it's not even the bolts. It's just making sure that the people who are doing the bolts are doing the right thing and then signing off on it. So, you know, that being said, you know, I will just say, just to save time, I'm leaning towards Scott. And really the sole reason, because of the shoes that he's filling, as Barb said. You know, the seat that is open here are really big shoes to fill. And, but the role that Dr. Fiaschetti played on this board was one of someone who came to us from a quieter community background, but a stronger professional background, and a stronger collaboration professionally background. And I think that's what we need. I think that's the piece. You know, again, when I said before, the board works as one person, I think we do. So if all of us are a different part of the person, if we were filling Barb's role tonight, I would be choosing Mark, or even one of the other candidates, because Barb's our advocate. Not that we aren't all advocates, but really that's, so, you know, we get the choice. You know, the voters are going to get to choose something different when they vote. Tonight's job is to choose the fingers or arms or legs we need of this board. So if I'm filling Sandy's leg, I want to do that with the person that I think is the most appropriate to what she brought to the table, and she brought to our discussions, and she could lead the district with. That being said, you know, I hope that we have people running. Mark, you know, regardless of what happens, Scott, Mark, I think you guys should run. I think the community should hear your stories and know who you are and all of that. Unfortunately, my job tonight is not to do the community's vote. It's really to fill a position that was filled, that is vacant for a little while, and do that to the best of my knowledge for the pieces we have playing right now. And I do think that's Scott.
Thank you.
To a degree, I really could flip a coin. I think if we went solely on the answers that were given tonight, in my mind, it was Scott. From Mark, I really appreciate the fact that he has students that are in the school, that he has that perspective of variety of schools, and as a person of color and children who are experiencing our schools, to get that firsthand impression and viewpoint on the board. And that's something that's important to me. I also appreciate that he has been a coach in the district, involved in many activities directly in Rochester. So I guess for those reasons, I'm leaning more for Mark.
Okay, so I'm gonna say a few things, and then we're gonna go back to you, Mike. Number one, we want to come to a consensus here. So we're at a 2-2 right now. So I'm gonna swing towards Scott. His business acumen. So Scott, spun out a tech company from one of the bigger companies in Detroit, and as I understand it, and this is all from Google. This company, Skillo, has contracts with a couple of our biggest public companies in the state. And, one of the things that I was looking for, and definitely in filling Sandy's shoes or trying to fill Sandy's shoes, is building relationships. And you all know me, and you know one of my goals is building relationships in the business community. It's so important and something we've tasked Dr. Shaner with, and I think Scott could help us in that tremendously, tremendously. His contacts are super valuable. Not that Mark's aren't, but I know Scott's personally. I know Scott's been looking to get involved in RCS for a while now. And a few different opportunities have come up, and this is one that worked timing wise. I can't read my writing. So business acumen, relationships. I love how introspective Scott was when we'd ask him a question, and then just really thinking about his answers and what was gonna be the best way to illustrate his answers. And I guess his seek to understand philosophy is so important in this job, and something that we've all said that we would appreciate in a colleague. His weakness of not being organized and looking at the details is probably that works in our favor, in my opinion. We don't necessarily need someone super detail-oriented. We need a big picture, a visionary. I'll reread what I said before. Big picture visionary, humble team player, someone with board committee experience. I know he's mentioned some of his work on the committee, the board for Oakland schools, the tech board, his work with entrepreneurship and young entrepreneurs in Detroit, I think could be invaluable to this district. And that's not, and this is me flipping the coin, and this is where the coin landed. And I'm not, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. And so that is where I am right now. Mr. Zabit.
Thank you. It was good to listen to everybody else's take on it. I lean, and I made this point before about how many on many points you guys are pretty similar, and I think that the thing that breaks the tie for me is the diversity of experience that Scott has, and his professional experience as well. I think is a kind of tips the scale for me.
Okay, so this is where we are. So I'd like us to figure out a way to come to consensus here.
What I can say is that I think either candidate would be excellent choices on this board. So for me, I would be happy having either of them on here. I mean, you've heard my opinion that, while I agree that I think Scott maybe more fully fills a Sandy role, in my opinion, that wasn't necessarily, I don't know that you can fill someone's role. And so I do really appreciate Mark's ability to have that parent perspective. And, you're looking at the external and the business relationships, and I'm concerned somewhat with the internal and our operations there and the perspective that we have there. So that's the difference. I mean, I think they're both excellent candidates, and I could support either one.
I actually agree with what Michelle said, and I'm glad that you made the point that we're not looking for a candidate to fill Sandy's vacancy to be a clone of who Sandy was and how she operated as a member of this board. And I guess I want to make sure that that's pretty clear. But again, to Michelle's point, either one of these candidates would be well-suited and obviously are qualified and talented to be sitting next to us, and I would be honored to serve next to either one of them. I just, brought up the difference. There's the community tie that Mark has that I really think is strong, and to Michelle's point, the fact that he already has kids in the system in our district that have gone through our district, not to say that you won't later, Scott, but again, I'll be happy voting for either candidate. But please just know the one that isn't chosen should consider running in 2020.
So this is a really difficult question to ask, but so if I were to call, so right now we sit at a straw poll of 4-2. If I were to call for a roll call vote in favor of Scott as being appointed to the board, Michelle and Barb, would you support that with a yes vote so that we could get to a unanimous decision?
I would support that.
Michelle? Okay. So let's not delay. I guess I'll take a motion to appoint Scott Muska to the Rochester Board of Education.
I'll second that.
So I guess we'll do a roll call vote. How do we do? Amy, do you? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we have a motion, we have support, and I think we are, we've discussed
Do we need to ask for any comments?
Oh, yes, we should definitely ask for comments from the audience. I'm so sorry, I forgot that. So there's a motion on the table to appoint Scott. Do we have any comments from the audience?